I'm very pleased at this time to yield 2 minutes to the distinguished gentleman from California, the ranking member of the Education Committee, Mr. Miller.
I thank the gentleman from Florida for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in opposition to this rule. This rule provides for consideration of the Commerce Justice appropriations, but it adds some extraneous matters, things like martial law and reconciliation. If we're going to consider other matters in this rule, we ought to be allowed, as the gentleman from Florida say, to be able to consider the question of doubling of the interest rates of student loans. The House Democrats months ago asked for this action to be taken so that interest rates would not double on students this July 1st, doubling from 3.4% to 6.8%, and when calls for bipartisanship were met with silence for months. But all of a sudden, the Republicans in Congress started to understand this issue when President Obama took it to the parents and to the students of this country and explained to them what was at stake. And 2 weeks ago, the Republicans surprised us with the bill on the floor where they said they all now agree with it, even though they voted against it 2 weeks earlier, that they agree that there shouldn't be a doubling of the student loan rates. But then what did they decide to do? They decided that the not doubling of the student loan rates, they gave the House a choice where they would take it out. They would take it out on women's health, denying women to early screening for breast cancer, for cervical cancer, newborn infants, for early screening, for birth defects. That's how they decided they would pay for it. We tried to offer a Democratic alternative, Mr. Tierney of Massachusetts legislation, that would have taken away the unjustified, unfair tax breaks to the largest oil companies in the country at a time of record profits, and used some of that money to pay for for making sure that the interest rates don't double. But the Republicans wouldn't allow us to offer that, and today what we're trying to do is to defeat the previous question, so we'll be able to offer the Democratic substitute, which would keep the interest rates from doubling, pay for it by taking away the unfair tax cuts to the largest oil companies, and not do what the Republicans did, is to say you can have your student loan subsidy, but you're going to have to take it out of the hides of newborn infants, of children's immunization, and the preventative care. Thank you. I thank the gentleman for and the preventative care and early screening for women with cervical and breast cancer. We know that decision, that early screening, is a matter of life and death for those women. But that was of no matter to the Republicans. And now we see today a recent poll out that suggests that over half of the country supports the student loans not doubling, paying for it in the manner in which the Republicans did, as opposed to 30% of the country that think the Republicans are on the right track in going after women's health, children's immunization. So I would hope that we would defeat the previous question, and that Mr. Hastings will be allowed to move to consider the legislation by Mr. Tierney, and we can put this issue to rest, and families and students who are now sitting around trying to figure out how they're going to pay for the college education of their children who have just been accepted to college or continuing in college, they can do that with a peace of mind of knowing that the interest rates won't double on July 1st. I thank the gentleman for yielding.